Afternoon, everyone. Calling this 2 p.m. agenda, Friday, February 4th of the Consumer Protection and Commerce Committee to order. Thank you all for being here. Today is our fireworks agenda, clearly top of mind for so many of our residents seeking relief today. I did want to start off with a few reminders in case this is your first time joining the Consumer Protection and Commerce Committee. If you can make sure to have your appropriate name based on what you submitted testimony under. It helps our tech people be able to find and highlight you faster. So if you can make sure to change your name to reflect what you are testifying under, that helps our tech people greatly. Also, if you can keep your camera off, but turn it on once you are called on to testify, that will also be helpful so that the committee can see you. When I call your name or your organization, then you're invited to unmute yourself so that we can hear you testifying. We're very grateful to have you here today. I did also want to ask for everyone's cooperation. I make this announcement at every hearing, but I think it's very true. One of the things that separates us often from the mainland is the Aloha spirit. So I would just ask that irrespective of everyone's opinions, that people extend aloha and courtesy and mutual respect to each other in this hearing. Also with that, I did want to make a note at the outset that it is my intention, I firmly believe, as I think many of my colleagues do, that the fireworks problem is a multifaceted problem and therefore probably warrants taking a look at several different solutions rather than just expecting that there is one panacea that's going to solve the entire issue, which is why today you see multiple different ways to potentially tackle illegal fireworks. I think a multifaceted problem needs to be addressed in a multifaceted manner. And it's the House's intention to pursue a range of those mechanisms to have a full and robust discussion on how we offer some relief to our constituents who express year after year after year that they are definitely in need of some help and assistance. With that, I'd like to move on to our first agenda item today. We have HB 1695. This is relating to fireworks. This would increase from $2,000 to $5,000 the maximum fine that may be assessed against certain fireworks related violations. We have our first testifier, the Hawaii Department of Public Safety, Jordan Lowe.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chairs, and members of the committee. The department, my name is Jordan Lowe. I'm the Deputy Director for Law Enforcement for the Department of Public Safety. And the Department of Public Safety supports House Bill 1695 and will stand by its written testimony. And I'm available for additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director. We also have indicating that they would be present to testify late testimony from the Hawaii State Fire Council. Good
afternoon, Chair. Yeah, good afternoon, Chair. Gary Lum. Gary Lum is testifying on behalf of the State Fire Council and the Chair, Stephen Goebel. We stand on our written testimony in support of this bill and available for questions.
Thank you very much. We also have Larry Verray, Neighborhood Board Chair of the Pearl City Neighborhood Board 21.
Aloha, Chair Johansson and Vice Chair Lisa Kitagawa and the committee members. Thank you for allowing me to provide testimony on a number of bills today. I'm Chair for the Pearl City Neighborhood Board, representing our board and all our residents, families, and pets negatively impacted by the random all hours of the day terroristic loud aerial fireworks explosions impacting our lives daily. Our board unanimously approved our resolution on fireworks at our January 25th, 2022 neighborhood board meeting to include mitigation recommendations for our congressional representatives and our state legislators. And I hope you get a chance to look at that resolution because it does give you that multifaceted solution. We support this bill increasing the fine for illegal fireworks up to $5,000 based on the seriousness of the offense. But as you all know, it is meaningless unless there is evidence gathered for HPD to help them out. And my commitment to you is I am going to lead our community to help HPD gather that evidence they need to go after the bad actors Thank you very much. Please support this bill.
Thank you, Chair. And members, please note the resolution that Chair Verray mentioned is contained in the late section of your testimony packet. We also have Alicia Muluafiti with Poi Dogs and Popoki.
Good afternoon, Chair, and thank you for hearing all these bills. We're in support of all of them, but I wanted to just note that the more penalty, the greater the fine, we believe is going to be a greater deterrent. I filed 3 citations this past year, and I agreed to be a witness and I agreed to prosecute. And that's what the police department and prosecuting attorneys is asking for, an eyewitness, and you have to be prepared to step up. And I'm letting you know that we, Poi Dogs and Popoki, and all the animals we represent are in strong support of this bill and many others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Auntie Mo, Maureen Andrade.
Aloha, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Hi.
can hear you.
Hi. Thank you, and aloha, Chair Johansson and members of the CPC committee. My name is Maureen Andrade, or known as Auntie Mo. I have been a resident for 70 years in Waipahu. And during my younger years, fireworks were
Auntie Mo, we're having a little bit of audio problem.
firecrackers, sparklers,
Oh, there
and
we go.
that was enjoyable. Explosives, canister type bombs, homemade bombs, aerials, jumping jacks, etc. Everybody has seen this, none of which are legal, none of which represents religious purposes. I've been in Village Park in Waipahu for 70 years. I mean, you know, that's where I was born and raised. I represent, hold on. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now
Hello?
you're back.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you.
Hello? Are they on? Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, I am in a Village Park Community Association, but I am speaking for myself and my family. And our association will be ahead. Should have sent a testimony in also. But we have 1,800 homes, a little more than that. And for the last 2 years, every single night, we have been terrorized by these explosives, these bombs and aerials. And I'm not exaggerating. And it starts from like 6:30 in the evening, and it lasts throughout the night, sometimes to 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And this is, as of last night, it happened again. You know, we have not skipped a beat. So whatever we can do to help tighten up the laws and get these aerials and illegal I don't call it fireworks, I call it explosives. They terrorize our community. We've had incidents where we have care homes and a patient in the middle of the night got startled by the bomb that shook their home. He fell, they had to call the ambulance. We've had pets that run away. And none of these people that have been doing it really they don't have any clue of what they're doing to the rest of us. And I've actually walked our community at night with my pepper spray and my phone, trying to find these people because HPD doesn't have enough people to go around. So whatever we can do, whatever you can do, Chair, and your committee, to help stiffen the penalties and help us get rid of all this. I know I don't only speak for myself, but we would really appreciate the help in getting something done. Thank you very much. I support all the bills that is listed, the 7 bills that's listed today on your agenda.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
member, since we had a little bit of audio difficulty, her testimony is contained on all the measures as well in the late section of the packet. And also present is Mr. Samuel Mitchell in support. Mr. Mitchell, did you want to testify on this measure? Oh, okay. Been advised that you may not have a microphone, but we are in receipt of your testimony in support of this measure. Members, that's the extent of individuals or organizations that have indicated that they would be present to testify orally in this virtual hearing. Is there anyone else in the hearing room who would like to testify in HB 1695? Okay, seeing no further testifiers. Members, any questions on HB 1695? Okay, seeing no questions, then we'll move on to the next agenda item, HB 1696. And I'm sorry, in my announcements, I did forget to mention that if you do hear the buzzer, we do have a 2-minute time limit. I typically try to give some grace, but I did want to mention, since I forgot that we normally do have a 2-minute time limit. On HB 1696, this is also relating to fireworks, and this would increase the fireworks display permit fee from $110 to $300. We have our first testifier indicating that they would be present to provide testimony. Gary Lum, Hawaii State Fire Council in support.
Gary Lum, testifying on behalf of the State Fire Council and Stephen Goebel, the chair. We stand on a written testimony submitted in support of this bill. Available for questions later.
Thank you very much. Let's see. Yeah, is someone here from the Hawaii County Fire Department? No. Okay, no problem. They also submitted testimony in support and indicated that they wanted to testify. We have, again, Alicia Maluafiti with Poi Dogs and Popoki in support.
Thank you, Chair. We're in support, and I know this might be scary, where I'm putting it out there that maybe this would be a good time to really increase the permit fees. Let's be honest, these pyrotechnic professionals, $300, what's that? That's nothing. How about $1,000? How about $1,000 for every time they do a show? They got to pay $1,000 for a permit. We're going to see a few bills coming up. We need money. We want to incent people to report this stuff. I don't think $1,000 is too much to ask. But here's where the amendment gets a little scary, but I don't care. I think it's awesome as well. Since you're in the statute, we might as well increase the permit fee for firecrackers. $25? What is that? That's nothing. Here's what I know for sure, that the guys that are buying the firecrackers, if you go up and down Fort Weaver and Eva Beach Road, those same homes are putting up the illegals. They got money flowing to buy the illegal stuff. Why not increase the fireworks permit from $25 to $100? The city collected $500,000 in permit fees. It was 21,000 permits, $500,000. If we increase the permit fee to $100, $2 million, $2 million potential dollars that could go in to fund all these initiatives that we're going to hear about. I'm just throwing it out there. We got nobody here from the police department or prosecuting attorney's office. I'm just suggesting that with all the problems we're having, if you're going to screw around with the illegal aerials, you're going to pay the price on everything else. Let's increase it to $100. It's in the same statute. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alicia. Also, we'll try it again. I'm not sure if we've gotten the audio worked out with you, Mr. Mitchell, but Samuel Mitchell, also in support. I know you might be working out the audio. Okay. Sorry that our audio issues aren't resolved yet, Mr. Mitchell, but for the record, he has provided testimony and in support of HB 1696. Members, that's the extent of testifiers who've indicated they'd be present to provide testimony at the virtual hearing. Is there anyone else who would like to testify in HB 1696? Okay, seeing no further testifiers then, members, any questions on HB 1696? Okay, seeing no further testifiers, then we will move on to our next agenda item, HB 2502. HB 2502 is a new idea that we haven't seen, I don't remember seeing of recent. This is also relating to fireworks, and it would create a civil cause of action that can be brought by any person other than an officer or an employee of the state or a local governmental entity for certain violations in aiding or abetting fireworks control law violations. Includes statutory damages. I will also note, just for the record, members, that this bill has also been re-referred and will end up going to the Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs Committee, as it probably should. So it is no longer a single referral to just the CPC committee. With that, we'll start with our first testifier, William Bento, with the Office of the Public Defender in opposition.
Hello, good afternoon, Representative and Chairperson Johansson, as well as Vice Chair Representative Kitagawa, and members of the committee. First of all, I just want to say, and my office really wants me to emphasize this, that, you know, we are all members of the community and we share with everybody the feeling and understanding of the problem that fireworks, especially illegal fireworks, brings to our community. We're all pet owners as well, and we understand the problem of fireworks in our community. However, we do oppose this bill because we do believe that it creates some problems, and we would feel that some of the other measures that are proposed would be a better way to handle this problem. In this particular bill, what's troublesome to us is that one, there is a minimum of $10,000, a $10,000 judgment that can be won if a person does bring a claim against another citizen. Secondly, there is no negative consequence for bringing this action, because if the defendant were to prevail in a trial in this case, they cannot recoup their costs for their attorney's fees or any of those other things. The bill would not allow for that. And so we do see this as creating an incentive to file claims. So we do believe that the judiciary would be inundated with these civil claims. Subsection 5 does not fully define what it means to intend to engage in this conduct. And that can be anything from actually going and purchasing illegal fireworks or possessing them. It could mean just driving to the place or talking to someone or having someone talk to you about purchasing illegal fireworks, whether you do it or not. And so it's such a broad, these words create such a broad definition and way in which they can be prosecuted. This creates a problem. The other issue is that it technically deputizes citizens to go after other citizens. And this is going to create a lot of problems in neighborhoods. It's going to create disharmony. Now, I'm not saying that fireworks don't create that disharmony. They really do. But it's really going to compound the problem. And it's really going to lead to neighbors going out and getting temporary restraining orders against each other, filing harassment claims against each other, and just creating a lot more cases that really don't need to be in the judicial system. And lastly, subsection D limits the way in which a court would be able to have a trial in this particular type of case. And we really don't feel that there should be any limitation on the judiciary and how, in fact, it handles its trials, or to be told how it should handle its trials. So for these reasons, we oppose the bill, and I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We also have Gary Lum with the Hawaii State Fire Council in support.
Good afternoon, Chair. Yes, Gary Lum testifying on behalf of State Fire Council and Chair Goebel. We stand on our written testimony that was submitted in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Larry Verray, Chair of the Pearl City Neighborhood Board, in support.
Yes, We strongly support this bill. It has a huge positive impact on our community residents, empowering the people to come forward from their neighborhoods as multiple neighbors standing up strong against bad actors and individuals who reside in their neighborhoods, either sponsoring or directly using illegal aerial fireworks. I believe most neighbors can tolerate low impacting fireworks on New Year's Day and 4th of July, but when they're impacted every single day, jolted out of their beds by low altitude aerial bombs, they just can't take it anymore. They call 911, the police show up, and it's the same thing over and over again. Regretfully, HPD does not have the resources to enforce fireworks laws. However, they are still needed to gather evidence and file police reports on behalf of the community. Bill 2502 will empower the community to gather strong evidence with video recordings of the impacting events, signed affidavits from the negatively impacted neighbors, coupled that will with the HPD reports, and that'll be the required evidence to take to a civil court on those bad actors and individuals. If our judges provide punitive damages to the victims of these loud explosions per family member, per pet, this will send a clear message to those who want to conduct the urban terrorism that they will pay for it for one way or the other. The evidence could lead to felony convictions. And of course, this all goes away. Most of these bills that we cut the head of the snake off and work the fireworks issue before the fireworks get to Hawaii. So hold that thought. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We also have Alicia Muluafiti with Poi Dogs and Popoki in support.
Thank you, Chair. Let's be clear about one thing. I don't think any of us want to see our neighbors go to jail. I sure as heck do not want to have to take them to court. But at this point in time, what this bill does, it gives us another tool to prevent our neighbors from blowing up these fireworks in the first place. If they know that I now have the opportunity to file a civil lawsuit against them, this is what this is all about. I am the titta of my road, and they know I'm the one that's gonna report them. I am reporting them. My name is on everything. I want them to know that I'm going to come after them for $10,000 if they blow up these bombs. My only issue with this bill, I want to make sure that it ties back to the bill that we passed in 2019, which holds the property owner or lessee responsible for any of those illegal fireworks that are coming off their property. That is really the only way that I am able to go after these guys, because I can see it coming right out of their driveway, coming off their front lawn, their backyard. We never see the person that lights the fuse. So this bill is wonderful. I think we need it. It's a prevention tool. And I just want to make sure that it ties back to the bill that we passed 3 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have Auntie Mo, Maureen Andrade in support. Okay, I think she's gone, but she was also in support. Samuel Mitchell in support.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please
Okay.
proceed.
Yeah, I
And
got
welcome.
I'm getting double speak on my microphone. Yeah, I'm in totally.
Mr. Mitchell, it
Yeah.
appears. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Great. You're back. We
I'm
couldn't hear
back.
you.
Okay. What bill are we on?
We're still on 2502.
Yeah. I stand by what I wrote. If there's any questions, I'll answer questions.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you for your perseverance in sticking with us, technological issues aside. Members, that's the extent of individuals indicating that they would like to testify on this particular measure and submitted testimony in advance on HB 2502. Is there anyone else in the hearing room who would like to testify in HB 2502? Okay, seeing no further testifiers, members, any questions on HB 2502? Okay, seeing no questions on HB 2502, then we'll move on to our next agenda item. HB 1969. This is also relating to fireworks, and it mandates that each county offer a monetary reward to individuals who report the illegal use of fireworks and pay the reward under certain conditions. On HB 1969, we have our first approved testifier, Stephanie Kendrick, in support with the Hawaiian Humane Society.
Chair Johansson, Vice Chair Kitagawa, and committee members, thank you so much. Stephanie Kendrick from the Hawaiian Humane Society. I appreciate the chance to testify on this measure. Hawaiian Humane, we looked at all of the fireworks bills that have been introduced this session, and we tried to pick our battles and choose to support the ones that we thought were most promising in terms of the way they tried to address this perpetual issue in our community. But I just want to say I have such a heart for the testifiers who are testifying in favor of all of them, and just a desperate plea that the legislature just do something to help us. I mean, the heartache, the health concerns, the damage that these things are causing in our communities is horrible, and we absolutely positively need to do something. We'll stand by our written testimony in support of this measure. I just wanted to emphasize another thing that other testifiers have mentioned, and this has really gone beyond being a seasonal issue. We used to be able to educate the community. We used to be able to help the community prepare for keeping their pets safe at certain times of year. That's not possible anymore because it never stops. These things are going off every day in neighborhoods across the state. And I just really hope that the lawmakers will step up this year and give us some more tools to try and get a handle on this. And Chair Johansson, I just so appreciate your leadership on this issue. And I hope the committee will pass this measure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. We also have Gary Lum with the Hawaii State Fire Council in support.
Good afternoon, Chair. Gary Lum, again, testifying on behalf of the State Fire Council. We stand on our written testimony in support of this bill.
Thank you. We also have Larry Verray, Chair of the Pearl City Neighborhood Board, in support.
We are in strong support of this bill. This bill should be focused on where illegal fireworks are distributed and stored. This is the weak link in law enforcement. Organized crime has continued to have a solid distribution ring of selling fireworks to the public. It is suspected that city and state government officials are involved with the distribution of illegal fireworks as bad actors. If the public is empowered with the monetary reward for information leading to the prosecution and conviction of bad actors, this bill would make a huge positive impact for law enforcement. The monetary reward should be directly proportional to the amount of fireworks that are interdicted in the warehouse prior to the sales. In addition, there should be a monetary reward given to our residents who reported the sellers with the appropriate reward. I can't overemphasize how important this bill is for approval because we know tons of illegal fireworks are being stored in warehouses, industrial, and our residential areas. If there is an accidental explosion, the explosion could take out part of our residential community with many lives lost. Furthermore, with the seriousness of some of the public reports, if information leads to city and state corruption, the public information would go to the FBI. If in fact the state and city personnel are involved with distribution and selling illegal fireworks, their penalty should be not only fines, but prosecution, Class C felony, and loss of government pension. That's all I got for an update. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Larry. We also have Alicia Maluafiti with Poi Dogs and Popoki in support.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say I apologize if I sound angry or look hostile. It's really hot in Eva Beach. But really, this is what I usually look like.
It's a big problem, Alicia.
I mean, I look way better than this.
Yeah,
but
fireworks makes everybody unhappy, so no problem.
I'm going to try to say it in a nicer way. We love this bill. This is a great bill. We want to give people, we want to incent them. And to be honest, again, this really is not about the money. This is about giving the community tools to report these issues, not be fearful of it, and to make these guys, these violators, men and women, to make them scared that these things are going to be happening. If they know there's a reward out there, they may think twice about, is my neighbor going to report me? I better not blow up those bombs. So this is another prevention initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. We also have Antimo Marine Andrade in support.
Hi. Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
We can hear you.
Okay. I'm in support, and I do agree that this would help homeowners actually take some kind of action and help the others in getting these people recognized and identified. But I also think that, we were actually speaking about this during our association, a little get together, and the associations that are here now, I think we should be able to offer some kind of reward to the people in our community for, voicing and recognizing the people that they know are doing it, or their neighbors. Because I did have one of the homeowners that were doing fireworks, and still is. He actually told our security guard, we hire API, and he came out in his garage and told him to get out of there because we can't do anything about it. So, we're just trying to find ways to, hopefully within the next few months. But thank you. And yes, I support the bill.
Thank you very much, Auntie Mo.
Thank you.
Members, that's the extent of testifiers who've indicated that they would be present to virtually testify. Is there anyone else wishing to testify in HB 1969? Okay, seeing no further testifiers, members, any questions on this measure? Okay, seeing no questions, then we'll move on to our next agenda item, HB 2273, this relating to fireworks as well. This would make violations of the fireworks laws also a violation of noise control rules and noise pollution laws, and attach relevant penalties from that perspective. We have our first testifier, again, Stephanie Kendrick, in support with the Hawaiian Humane Society.
Hello again, Chair. We're in strong support of this measure. This is, if not the same, very similar to a measure that we supported last year. And I understand the Department of Health's concerns about its bandwidth in enforcing this, but noise really is the big issue, particularly when it comes to the stress and health concerns that this creates for animals. So I think that it's absolutely relevant and appropriate that it be enforced under that as well. I appreciate the time to share our testimony.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. We also have Chair Larry Verray from the Pearl City Neighborhood Board.
Yes, and we totally concur with HB 2273 that there should be a requirement to establish a full-time position for a state inspector to the Department of Health to investigate, act, and prosecute producers of loud, negatively impacting sound that impacts the health and safety of our community residents and their pets. Every year, the amount of noise pollution increases, not only from excessively loud aerial bombs, but also from loud mufflers, from vehicles, mega blasting boombox stereos. Noise pollution is created by bad actors who want to get in your face with the intentional loud impacting noise, where they know there is no resources or enforcement on their bad actor activities. This position could be twofold: inspect, collect information on loud illegal aerial fireworks, and also support the community by prosecuting those with loud exhaust and stereo systems. We also support the legislature setting an appropriate fining system for violators and bad actors. And if you put them out in Pearl City, I give them a full-time job, 24 hours a day. So once upon a time, it was so quiet when I moved to Hawaii. Every day we got to deal with loud noises. So totally support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Larry. On HB 2273, we also have Alicia Muluafiti with Boy Dogs and Popoki in support.
I think one of the key things about this bill that I like, that I think is important, is it enables this approach where you compound the fines and the fees and the penalties. So you can go out and you could be violating 4 or 5 different statutes by blowing up these illegals. So instead of this measly little $1,000 or $2,000 fine, now you're looking at potentially a $15,000 fine as we hit them, left, middle, and right. So I think if there's an opportunity to somehow get all these fines collected together, and by the way, to try to get the police department and prosecuting attorney's office to support these efforts, I think this would be a great opportunity if you're able to pass something like this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We also have Auntie Mo, Maureen Andrade in support.
Yes, yes, I support this. And I have one little question, I guess I could say. You know, when these events come in, they bring in all these they call fireworks, aerials. They need to know what the poundage is before they get it onto the container. So when they say they're going to have, let's say, 4 events in Honolulu, they kind of have an idea of what the weight is going to be for all of these 4 events, and they put it onto the container. Once they close the container, they're on its way here. Somewhere between that time and when they get onto the ship, they're adding on extra so they can come here and sell it illegally. This is something that, you know, has been discussed. So in that case, when it gets off here, or when they distribute or drop it off, or whatever they do when they get to the islands, do they get weighed again? Did you know?
I would probably defer to the chair who has jurisdiction over shipping.
Okay.
Transit.
I'm just thinking there must be a way to know whether or not there's more of these fireworks being put into the container, and then when they get here, they have extras to sell to, you know, black market, to sell to people out there in the public, and that's how they're getting it. I mean, it's just my way of thinking, like somewhere along the line, something has to be going on for it to get here. And I really think that, you know, we should look at every little way to try to stop it from being distributed here in Hawaii. Because yeah, it's driving a whole bunch of us crazy with all this fireworks. So I'm in support of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Timo. I believe Samuel Mitchell's left the room. Okay. Members, that's the extent of those indicating that they would provide testimony orally today in today's virtual hearing. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on HB 2273? Okay, seeing no further testifiers, members, any questions? Okay, seeing no questions, then we will move on to the next measure, HB 2275, relating to fireworks infractions. This would establish an adjudication system for the processing of fireworks infractions that is much more akin to traffic tickets. On HB 2275, first off, we have Stephanie Kendrick with the Hawaiian Humane Society in support.
Aloha Chair Committee members, again, Stephanie Kendrick from the Hawaiian Humane Society. We really like this approach. In fact, this is an approach we're looking at taking at our county ordinance level with some of our animal violations like stray dogs and that sort of thing, just because our criminal courts are so overwhelmed, and that can lead to a backlog in cases. So if this will expedite the actual punishment of offenders, we think it's a great idea, and we're absolutely in favor. I thank the committee for their time.
Thank you. We also have Gary Lum with the Hawaii State Fire Council in support.
Yes, Gary Lum testifying on behalf of the State Fire Council, and we stand on a written testimony submitted in support of this bill.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Trisha Nakamatsu with the Prosecuting Attorney's Office in support.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Deputy Prosecutor Trisha Nakamatsu, appearing on behalf of the Honolulu Prosecuting Attorney's Department. We also support the bill. While it is, as we indicate in our testimony, it may seem a little counterintuitive to lower the severity of an offense to actually improve enforcement. We feel that the change in the state of mind, basically the standard of evidence that's necessary, would make a big difference. Also, of course, allowing people to pay the tickets, having that punishment issued quickly, and these cases open and close relatively quickly, we think would also step up enforcement on a broader scale. One thing we didn't mention in our testimony is where the bill puts the offense into the HRS, which is Title 38. We think that's appropriate because that is the part of the HRS that deals with court procedures. So it should fit in well there. One comment that we did have was with regards to the fine. If you want people to be able to pay this by mail and not have to appear before the court, slowing things down, then we would suggest that you either establish a set fine or you ask or require the judiciary to prescribe a schedule of fines as it's done for traffic infractions. Will be available for questions, if any.
Thank you very much, Tricia. We also have Larry Verray, Chair of the Pearl City Neighborhood Board, in support.
Yes, we're in strong support of HB 2275 as an alternate enforcement mechanism. Anything that would expedite, make it easy for the process to get these bad actors fined. And the other thing is have an opportunity for punitive damages for the neighbors that came forward with that critical evidence. And hopefully, if you hit all the check marks for the evidence, this is, I think, how it can be expedited through. So we support this bill.
Thank you very much, Chair. Next, we have Alicia Maluafiti with Poi Dogs and Popoki in support.
Chair, I think this is a great bill. I think you guys introduced or tried to introduce passed something last year. So I agree with the $100. I don't feel it's much of a disincentive. And I think that's the idea, is to stop them from actually popping the illegals in the first place. And of course, some kind of progressive penalty for the first, second, third infraction. But here's my biggest couple of concerns. One is the biggest problem we have is actually seeing the one person who's lighting the fuse. And the police keep telling the public that, oh, you got to see who lights the fuse. Well, the way the law was written 3 years ago, the one that was passed, it's the property owner. So my question here is, how are people going to see who's going to be cited? Is it the property owner where the bomb goes off of, or is it the individual who's doing the lighting? It's very hard to catch the person that's doing the lighting. So that's probably my biggest concern. The second concern is, if you get a parking ticket or a speeding ticket, you can't get your driver's license, you can't register your car. We have all these ways to deter these people from doing these illegal acts. And if you don't pay your fine, you can't get the rest of these things that you need to live your life. I'm just wondering, what is the next step for this type of process, for this law, if it were to be put into place? Do you get a ban? You can't purchase a firecracker permit for the next 5 years? I mean, I feel like, I'm sorry to be so negative, but these guys really piss me off. And I just kind of want to hammer them a little bit harder. So if there's a way to, make it harder on them, let's go after them. Yeah, pound them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. And I think Samuel Mitchell's still out. Members, that's the extent of testifiers indicating that they would like to testify on this particular measure. Is there anyone else in the virtual testimony room who would like to testify in HB 2275? Oh, I'm sorry, Auntie Mo, did you want to testify as well? I apologize. You are here.
I'll just agree with the previous speaker. I agree with her 100%.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, members, any questions on HB 2275? Okay, seeing no questions, then we'll move on to our last agenda item, HB 1604. Also relating to fireworks, this would establish an illegal fireworks task force within the Department of the Attorney General, as well as being tasked with developing a comprehensive strategic plan to stop the importation of illegal fireworks and explosives to the state, as well as promote better compliance with the law. On HB 1604, we have our first testifier, Gary Lum, Hawaii State Fire Council in support.
Good afternoon, Chair. Gary Lum, again, testifying on behalf of the State Fire Council. We stand on our written testimony in support of this bill.
Thank you. Next, we have Jordan Lowe, Hawaii Department of Public Safety, with comments.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. The Department of Public Safety stands by their comments on House Bill 1604. However, I did want to point out one thing. In addition to trying to disrupt the flow of these illegal fireworks into the state of Hawaii, the next step after, though, that's going to be left with law enforcement is the storage and disposal of those fireworks. And that, out of experience, that's quite a costly assignment to take care of, and it's also very, very dangerous. So if we are to consider, a bill like this, we need to look at how we're going to find the trained personnel to be able to handle the storage and disposal. And that isn't part of my comments, and that's, I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have Patrick McCain with Department of Transportation in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Department of Transportation is in support of the measure, and we will stand on our testimony. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We also have Larry Verray, Chair of the Pearl City Neighborhood Board, in support.
We're in strong support of HB 1604. I think this is a critical part of all these bills. We totally support the state legislature initiating a requirement for Task Force 2022. However, importantly, we recommend the federal government lead the task force and develop an engagement plan to identify, track, engage, interdict illegal fireworks explosives before they arrive in Hawaii ports. Regretfully, the last task force from 2011 had zero impact on interdicting any illegal fireworks shipments arriving to Hawaii ports. One would think in 10 years, there should be at least a few shipments identified. The public suspects corruption of state and city inspectors and other government personnel involved with the distribution and selling of tons of illegal fireworks arriving at our ports. The previous task force 2011 had the wrong participants part of the forum to put a plan together to interdict the fireworks, but that plan totally failed. Task Force 2022 should be planned to have two groups of participants: the inner circle of federal agencies with their classified resources and capabilities, and the outer circle, the state and city contributors, as not to compromise the engagement plan. If this bill 1604 is approved, a proper form task force could employ our country's best military and law enforcement capabilities to identify transnational interstate shipping of Trojan horse containers that could be interdicted prior to arriving in Hawaii. Furthermore, the success of this federal government engagement plan could also interdict those shipments to other cities in the mainland that have also experienced negatively impacted by illegal aerial fireworks shipments to their areas. Lastly, the FBI needs to investigate and act on possible bad actors, state and city employees involved in the distribution and selling of illegal aerial fireworks. It should also be of grave concern what other contraband could have been included in these non-declared shipments of explosives to Hawaii. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Larry. We also have Alicia Maluafiti with Boy Dogs and Poki offering comments.
So Chair, I've been looking at this task force. I'm not, a fan of a task force, to be honest. And clearly the previous task forces have not done a whole lot. But, because you're not hearing any of the, the container shipping bills, perhaps they're all going to another committee. Maybe we could be looking at the bills that you've introduced as very viable solutions that we need to move out and move forward to give the community immediate relief, and use this task force. We all know if you stop it at the ports, then they don't get in the front gate, but that has not happened. So could the task force really specifically address some of the shipping, container type issues that are happening at the ports where we know it's happening and we know all the inside characters, all the black market, it's so much about the money. You bring in the feds onto something like this. I think we've seen the feds involved on the island of Oahu enough already. These guys scare a lot of these bad actors. It could be very effective. So I feel like that could be a win-win if you focus the task force a little bit more and let us move these bills out and get something passed this session to give us relief. I'd like to say in December, but fireworks start and run all year round in Neva Beach. So the sooner the better for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alicia. We also have Maureen Andrade and Timo in support.
I'm going to agree with the previous speaker. I think that if we try to move the first or one of the first 6 bills or all of them, and keep this task force solely working on one particular item, I think that would help us all. And I agree, I'm not too keen on task force either, unless we put a date and time on it, because it takes them longer to put together the ideas and then enforce. So yes, I think we should just move or try to move on all these the other bills and work on 1604 to do one particular thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, that's the extent of those who are present and indicated that they would be providing testimony today. Please note on this measure, as well as all of the others, there were various other testifiers who proffered written testimony in support or with comments or opposition. With that, is there anyone else who would like to testify in HB 1604 who hasn't already testified? Okay, seeing no further testifiers, members, any questions on HB 1604?
Mr. Chairman.
Representative Har.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lowe from the Department of Public Safety and Mr. Lum from State Fire Council.
Yes, Representative, I'm here.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe, for being here, and thank you for your testimony. You know, something that you said I thought was very intriguing when you talked about the fact that storage and disposal needs to be addressed should such task force be promulgated. Would you be able to tell us exactly, I mean, I don't know, and nobody from HPD is here, who does, like, whenever illegal fireworks are confiscated, what happens to them? What is the process? I mean, are they in fact stored for a long period of time? How are they disposed of? I don't know any of this, and I'm just curious because you raised a really good point that I think should be considered.
So after a seizure is made, it depends on the agency that makes the seizure.
Okay.
And the agency that makes the seizure, whether it's the federal government or whether it's HPD or the neighbor island county police departments, whoever sees is normally responsible for the storage, and then they have to wait for the property to be disposed of, or disposition order, I'm sorry, by the courts, or either administratively they get an order to dispose of the fireworks. Now, normally, once that happens, usually it would be like SSD, the bomb squad, or in terms of the federal government, they would have either their own bomb techs, or like with ATF, who I used to work for, we have special agents that are certified explosive specialists. So we would be trained along with the bomb techs, and would be authorized to do the disposal in a safe manner. As you saw in the past, sometimes it doesn't work out, and you look at Waikele, where 3 individuals were killed during an operation. So that's what I wanted to bring up. And you know, there are methods to try to stop the flow of fireworks coming in, you know, either via inspections of the containers, but again, if you want to prosecute the individuals bringing the fireworks in, because it's a very lucrative business, we still have to follow, all of the criminal procedure in terms of, getting search warrants and things like that.
Okay.
So it's a difficult process.
It sounds like it's not only a difficult process, it's protracted, it's prolonged, it's a long process. It's not something that happens quickly then.
Correct.
I'm actually shocked that there has to be a disposition order from the court if in fact that these, illegals are in fact seized, they're illegal fireworks. So why does there have to be a disposition from the court?
So what happens, that's just one of the methods, okay?
Okay.
Where we can dispose of it. It can be disposed of administratively too, but it
Okay.
has to go through a process where, we have to either go through the prosecution process or the individual that the fireworks were seized from was willing to, abandon his rights to it, because it's still somebody's property.
Mhm.
And if we were to unilaterally,
It would be a taking. It would be considered a
Right.
taking. Okay.
Right, so
Okay.
there are procedures for all of that, and it may vary from different agencies.
Okay, so really thank you for educating me on that, Mr. Lowe. So it depends on what agency actually seizes the illegal fireworks, and then it becomes incumbent upon them to figure out the storage and to deal with the disposition and eventual disposal of these fireworks then. And they do
Correct.
that all on their own funding, right? With whatever funding comes from that various, whether it's a federal agency, whether it's a state agency, what other county law enforcement, et cetera, correct?
Correct, and it is quite costly to do
Okay.
this.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Lowe. Auntie Mo and Alicia Malawafiti.
Yes.
First of all, thank you for the two of you for your passion and being such advocates for this bill, because I think all of us from the West Side feel exactly the same way you do. So thank you for expressing your passion. I agree with you on this measure. I think a task force, that focuses on the point of entry, and I want to be clear, back in 2019, I met with the former police chief and DEA to discuss this issue, that these illegals are getting into our ports. And the fact of the matter is there's no easy solution. We talked about sniffing dogs, but the problem is these 40-foot containers are stacked high. There's a plethora of reasons why they're getting into the state. But to me, that's one of the main, and I think Mr. Verray even testified, we've got to get these at the point of entry. And I'd like to see this task force focused on that, because this problem is not going to go away until we seize these things from the time of entry. So I really, I want to thank you guys for continuing to come out and just to continue the discussion regarding the rest of the bills, because we need more tools. HPD, I know that there was over 800 calls to HPD this year and only one arrest was made. It's just really frustrating, because whether it's veterans, whether it's dog owners, whether it's, kids with parents with young kids, this has become, it's terroristic for all of us, especially on the West Side. And I can't speak for other communities. And I agree with you, it's year round. They were going off last night at my house. There were bombs going off in Kapolei last night. And so it's a year round problem. This is not just becoming a, New Year's Eve or, Christmas, during the holidays kind of problem. So I would hope that you guys would continue to support a task force that would really focus on something that would be a little bit more narrowed down to the point of entry. Sorry, Auntie Mo, we can't hear you.
No, I said we had fireworks going on every night.
Auntie Mo, sorry, I think your bandwidth is too low. You're kind of fading in and out.
That's okay. I just agree with you. We had fireworks going on too.
Okay. Thank you both for being here and for your passionate testimony. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any other questions on HB 1604? Okay, seeing no further questions, then we'll recess for decision making. Recess. Reconvening our 2 p.m. Agenda for the Consumer Protection and Commerce Committee related to fireworks today. My thanks to everybody who testified, and thank you to the members for remaining with us. First off, we have HB 1695 relating to fireworks, increasing the fine from $2,000 to $5,000 as a maximum fine. And again, I do, sorry, before I go into decision making on this, I do want to again acknowledge that these bills are meant to provide multiple tools in the toolbox to address the problem of illegal fireworks. Some of them may not necessarily harmonize together at this point. I'm not sure what bills will end up moving along. And because we're the first committee, I'd like to move multiple strategies to tackle this issue to give the House maximum flexibility to try to provide real relief to our constituents. So with that as the context, recognizing that some of these bills, if they do make it to conference together, would actually need to be reconciled and harmonized. We'll go into the decision making for HB 1695, which is an increase in the fines. The recommendation on HB 1695 will be to pass this measure amended with a defective date of January 1, 2050. And for anybody joining us for the first time or members of the public, this is done specifically to force further discussion on the issue, as well as including various technical and non-substantive amendments. Members, any comments or questions on the recommendation? Okay, seeing no questions or comments, Vice Chair, can you please take the vote?
The recommendation of the chair is to pass HB 1695 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Aquino.
Aye.
Representative Parr.
Aye.
Representative Hashem.
Aye.
Representative Kong.
Aye.
Representative Mizuno.
Aye.
Representative Morikawa is excused. Representative Onishi.
Aye.
Representative Tarnis.
Aye.
Representative Matsumoto. Aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, and thank you, members. Next on HB 1696 relating to fireworks. My recommendation here is going to be to pass this measure with amendments. What I would like to do in section 2 of the bill, subpoints 1, 2, and 3, is to blank out the values referenced to encourage further discussion on what the appropriate permit fee should be. And because there wasn't a ton of discussion here today on that, particularly from the industry, I would like to engender further discussion there. So again, blanking out the values on the fees. We'll note in the committee report what they were and what has been suggested, but also I would like us to continue to discuss what they should be, as well as including a defective date of January 1, 2050 to encourage further discussion. Members, any comments or questions on the recommendation? Okay, seeing none then, Vice Chair, can you please take the vote?
The recommendation of the chair is to pass HB 1696 with amendments, noting the presence of all members except for Representative Morikawa, who will be marked excused for the rest of this agenda. Are there any reservations? Any noes? Okay, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Next on HB 2502 relating to fireworks. I think this is a really intriguing and novel approach that we just haven't had a whole lot of discussion on in the 12 years that I've been in the legislature. But I do think that there are significant issues that have been raised as in terms of sort of the scope and, in terms of the legal and practical issues of implementation of this potential change in the law. So for now, I would like to defer HB 2502 to see if we can work to come up with an amendment that potentially addresses the public defender's concerns as well as some of the concerns of our members. So for now, the recommendation on HB 2502, as novel as this concept may be, will be to defer for now to see if we can come up with some potential amendments to notice this at a later date, if we're able to reconcile some of these legal and practicality issues of implementation. So defer for now on HB 2502. Next on HB 1969 relating to fireworks. This again would mandate that the counties offer a monetary reward to individuals who report the illegal use of fireworks and to pay that reward under certain conditions. The recommendation here, again, I don't remember this being discussed in sort of the toolbox of tools to potentially mitigate the illegal fireworks problem. So the recommendation here to continue further discussion on this will be to pass HB 1969 with a simple amendment of defecting the date of January 1, 2050 to encourage further discussion. Members, any comments or questions on the recommendation?
Chair?
Representative Onishi.
Yeah, I just have some concerns in regards to how we're gonna fund these rewards. I don't believe the state should be funding this, that the counties should be looking at the funding of these and enforcement. So I'm gonna vote with reservations.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for the valid concerns. They are noted. Members, any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair, can you please take the vote?
The recommendation of the chair is to pass HB 1969 with amendments, noting the reservation of Representative Onishi. Are there any additional reservations? Are there any noes? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Next on HB 2273, this would make violations of the fireworks laws also a violation of noise pollution laws and punishable by additional alternate fines. On this measure, I would like to pass HB 2273 with amendments by including a defective date of January 1, 2050. I'd also like to note in the committee report that this particular measure is meant to tackle some of the most repeated and egregious noise offenders where, you know, the department would actually be able to monitor as opposed to the entire general populace. But it's meant to be a deterrent for some of these, you know, and many of us have them in our neighborhoods, the houses that are doing it every single night where there's some predictability. And since the noise control branch operates on complaints, you know, they certainly would be able to target and then try to effectively create a deterrent there. So again, just one more tool to engender greater compliance with a certain segment of the illegal fireworks problem. So I'd like to note that in the committee report as well. Members, any comments or questions on the recommendation?
Yes, Chair.
Representative Onishi.
Yeah, I just want to ensure that this program is applied statewide. And so I would appreciate maybe some wording that requires the program to be applied statewide and not just maybe on Oahu, or and for us to provide adequate funds for that purpose. So I'll be voting with reservation.
For now, Representative, I will be sure. I don't think there's anything pertaining to the noise branch that confines them to just Oahu. So for now, I'd be happy to put in the committee report that it's the expectation that all counties would be serviced as, you know, as this is a state agency. But I'll continue to look at the issue in case we actually need, should this bill keep moving, if we need to put some express language in there, because I agree, it should not just be on Oahu.
Thank you, Chair. With that, I rescind my with reservation.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. Members, any other comments or questions? Okay. Thank you. Seeing no other further questions or comments, Vice Chair for the vote, please.
The recommendation of the chair is to pass HB 2273 with amendments. Are there any reservations? Any noes? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next, members, on HB 2275, creating an expeditious adjudication system for the processing of fireworks infractions. I'd like to pass this measure with the prosecutor's amendment, suggested amendment, explicating at this point, though, a blank fine and noting a potential range in the committee report from 100 to 250, which I believe is the cell phone violation, so that there's further discussion on what the appropriate fine should be, so that there is a deterrent effect, but also not so high that everybody chooses to challenge it, instead pay it. Again, this bill is meant to target probably a large percentage of those doing fireworks, which is the occasional violation of the law, but still contributing to the critical mass of the fireworks problem. Because there's no consequence at the moment. But if there is a consequence and they could end up getting a ticket, we might discourage, or we might encourage more compliance with our fireworks laws within the general population. So the recommendation here, besides including the prosecutor's amendment, is also to include a defective date, as well as including that range for discussion purposes in the committee report. Members, any comments or questions on the recommendation? Okay, seeing none then, Vice Chair for the vote, please.
The recommendation of the chair is to pass HB 2275 with amendments. Are there any reservations? Any no's? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. And lastly, on HB 1604, members on this, unfortunately, I'm going to recommend that we defer this measure. The reason being because this particular task force in its scope, as well as its objectives and even its composition, is substantially similar to both LRB's 2019 task force as well as its work product. I do feel like there is merit in exploring the concepts teased out by Representative Haar and the Department of Public Safety, as well as some of our other testifiers, but I think that should warrant perhaps just a different bill that is more targeted and specific, as opposed to just completely changing up this task force. And because this task force, as well as what it seeks to accomplish, is somewhat duplicative of a pretty recent task force, I'm going to recommend that HB 1604 be deferred, as well intended as it is. And with that, members, my thanks to everyone who testified and to the members for sticking around. This adjourns our fireworks agenda of the Consumer Protection and Commerce Committee. Thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned.